Oh, hello. What's up? Thanks for coming back. Today I want to talk about how software and hardware get replaced faster than we can learn them. You know, new MPCs drop almost every year, DAWs get major updates, and suddenly this setup that you've had that has worked perfectly fine um, is all buggy and doesn't work. It only works with the newest version. Why does that happen? And who's it really for? Um, Consumerism is the idea that we constantly buy new things, right? Not because we need them, but because companies benefit when we do. One of the core strategies in modern tech is planned obsolescence, deliberately designing products or software support cycles so they become outdated or unsupported, basically forcing you to upgrade. So for me, I started using Logic in 2015. And before that, I had used GarageBand. And Logic Pro X or 10 was available for, I don't know, a decade. And then a couple years ago or whatever, yeah, like 2 years ago, they switched to 11. And it was big changes. They introduced their stem splitter, a new saturation tool. I think there was some AI stuff with the session players and virtual instruments, which I don't really use. And it was cool. Um, Plugins get, like just Waves, for example, introduces their V14 or 15. And so you got to update or your stuff starts bugging out in older sessions and whatnot. Um, it can be a pain in the ass. Some people argue it's just competition driving innovation. And others say it's wasteful, manipulative, and the mindset that keeps us buying instead of creating. Like where does it stop? When is like what you have good enough? I understand that eventually you're going to want to upgrade and change things and find new ways to do things, and that's all fine. But these are all happening and all introduced before we can even get to that point, right? So look at Akai MPC and the new MPC XL, right? Akai dropped the XL. It's a flagship standalone MPC with massive processing power. You can record vocals on it now, and basically it's supposed to be like a DAW in a box. It's got new pads, advanced sequencing, bigger storage, and expanded features. And it sounds sweet. I've seen videos of it, like Cookin' Soul was using one, Rob Victim was using one, guys I look up to. And it is powerful, but the cadence of releases raises questions. Are we really supposed to need a new box every year? Like, I have the MPC 1 right here to my left, and granted, I'm a tried and true MPC 1000 user. Going to the MPC 1, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. You can do so much in this machine. And then the Live and the Live 2 and the Live 3 and the MPC Key series, the SE, like the One Plus, they've released so many machines. And there was the whole argument of converters and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you can make a song on the MPC Live 1 or 2 or MPC 1 sound great. It's got more than enough power than to fulfill your needs for whatever sound you're trying to achieve. I mean, if I'm able to still make stuff sound good on my 1000, then anyone. I mean, you know what I mean? And last year there was the Live 3 and the XL is here, right? It's 4 times more powerful in its processing than the previous MPCs, with more tracks, a larger screen, and it has DAW-like workflows. But does that mean the old MPCs are obsolete? No. Not necessarily, but with MPC3 OS and the features moving forward, older units like my one aren't, they're not being supported, or they're at risk for being left behind. I don't even know if there's software updates for this anymore. On the software side, Apple just released Logic Pro 12. And it comes with new creative tools like AI session players, chord ID, and dynamic synth performance features. But there's a big catch. Logic Pro 12 only runs on Apple Silicon and newer Mac versions. So if you don't have at least an M1, you can't get it, so from what I've heard. And that means to get the latest and greatest, you now have to buy a new computer, and you're 11, or if you're still on Logic Pro X, it might still work fine, but it's not going to forever. Like, in your foreseeable future, you will have to upgrade your computer. When all in all, I'm not a software engineer, so I don't even know why I know why updates exist, but why do so many of them exist, right? Like, what was wrong with Logic 11? Why did they, maybe there's some bugs, but I just don't get, if you fix them and you come out with 11.1, they're fixed. Why the need to keep updating? They were on Logic X, like I said, for like a decade, and now all of a sudden it's like every 6 months. If I don't go on the Logic Pro forums, I don't even realize that there's been updates until I go on my app store and I'm like, holy shit, they're on 12? I don't know. And this is why it matters to artists and producers, right? The constant upgrade cycle affects creators, especially the independent producers. You buy hardware, you learn it, it gets replaced or unsupported, and then you pay again to stay current. And it's just a cycle that continues to repeat. I mean, I can't keep up with it. Like, I'm one of those people, when I get used to something and I learn it, I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm able to sit down and I know how to make a beat on this machine. I know how I'm going to record in Logic and how I'm going to mix and master it. These big changes, I'm not going to use the new tools. And that, I can only speak for myself. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can't wait for this to be changed or that to be changed. And that's all cool, but it's like, with this new subscription model that Apple is doing, where Logic and Final Cut are going to be in a bundle, it's almost like Adobe now. It's like the Waves thing. It's like you're changing to a subscription model, and then I feel like the people that have perpetual licenses are going to be left behind. And that's pressure. That's a real headache. And it's rarely because, our old gear failed. It's because the industry profits when the cycle moves fast, right? The cost of chasing new isn't about money. It's about time. How long does it take to learn new tools? How many projects are lost while you're learning a new workflow that might be outdated next year? When companies release upgrades that don't meaningfully improve your workflow or creativity, it starts feeling less like innovation and more like pressure to consume. And that's how I feel. Because, like I said, I can only speak for myself, but like I got everything I want. Like the existing version of Logic that I have works just fine. I am able to create on that thing, boy. My MPC 1000 is just fine. My MPC 1 is just fine. In fact, the only reason I ever go onto like the InMusic website is to just make sure that the drivers for the one are up to date, you know? And I'm always terrified that I'm going to have to replace one of these machines or my computer because it's just so outdated, right? So in conclusion, what we can do is technology can empower us, but we shouldn't be slaves to the trend, right? So ask yourself, do I actually need the newest version? Does it improve my creative output? Or am I buying because marketing says I should? The goal isn't to resist progress, it's to use technology as a tool, not let it tell us what we have to buy. And if this video made you think a little differently about gear and software upgrades, you know, it should. I'm one of those people that is I just want to create. That's all I want to do. And the biggest headaches to me is like when I have to go in and back up Logic and back up all my plugins and go through and updates. And I know in the digital world that stuff is necessary, but I don't want to have to do that every 6 months or even once a year, you know? The planned obsolescence of things, I really feel like it throws in a wrench. Like the only people it really affects are the ones that are happy with how things are, right? The ones that are eager to consume and for the next update and the next machine, just buy, they're the ones that this benefits. And it fits their model of how they're trying to run a business. So, and I'm not, the guys that got to get the new MPC, sick. Like, even if I had the money, I really wouldn't buy it because I don't need it. It would just, like, it would be cool to use, but in no way does it make my beat making better, So that's just my rant about it, and I just really wish they would space these updates and releases out more. The MPC releases don't really bother me because it's like I'm not gonna buy them anyway. But the Logic stuff and the subscription model, that bothers me because I know that in the foreseeable future I'm gonna have to update. And I'm going to have to go through the headache of updating all my plugins and hoping that those are all, So, anyway, I hope that they don't leave us perpetual license holders in the dust and that we're continued to be supported for future updates. That's all I can ask. So, anyway, thank you for listening, guys. See you next time.